After an amazing school year, Mfon sat on the stage with the other top graduating students. Mfon had straight A's and had won many scholarships for her great results in debate, math competition and track and field. She was great at both academics and sports, always pushing herself to meet her father's expectations. As the principal called up the top performing students to give out awards, the parents and other students in the audience cheered loudly. The applause filled the whole auditorium. Mfon's name was called more times than any other child. Many parents were so impressed they wished she was their child. While other parents cheered proudly for their children, Mfon looked through the crowd for her parents, but could not find them. After the ceremony, parents were allowed to take their children home since it was the last day of school. Mfon waited at the school block for her parents, who did not show up for the award ceremony. Later that evening, when all the students had already left, her mother arrived in a taxi. Mfon sat beside her luggage in the principal's office, waiting for her mother, Mrs. Etima. Her mother came in to apologize for being late. Mfon felt sad that her parents had missed her big moment. Her mother packed up her things, loaded them up in the taxi, and they went home. When Mfon arrived home, her dad, Mr. Ibanga, was waiting. She jumped out of the car with excitement to rush to greet her dad, Mr. Ibanga. "Let me see your report card," Mr. Ibanga said harshly. Mfon handed it to him. "Why is there a B? Why didn't you have all A's?" Mfon explained that she had a lot of A's and only one B in geography. She also shared that she had been accepted into medical school. "I will be a doctor like you always wanted," she said. But her father was not impressed. "You did not do well enough," he replied. "But I also won in track and field, in debate and math competition," Mfon added. "I don't care what you did. I did not pay all this money for you to go play at school," Mr. Ibanga said. Mfon was heartbroken and disappointed. She had hoped for a warm welcome and congratulations from her dad, but she got the opposite. "Go get your bags and get in the house," her dad yelled. When Mfon went to grab her bags, she stumbled and fell. Her mother rushed in to help her with some of the bags. Once she was in her room, Mfon felt very sad and cried because she did not get the welcome she had expected. Her mother, Mrs. Etima, came in to comfort her. During the holidays, Mr. Ibanga did not give Mfon any rest. He made her study, do chores, help on the farm, and work on the family business. Holidays were always very tough for Mfon because of her father. The only thing he talked about was her becoming a doctor. Mr. Ibanga was obsessed with Mfon becoming a doctor, and he would do anything to make it happen. A day before school started, Mfon was preparing for her first day of medical school. While cleaning the house and mopping the floors, she slipped and hit her head on the concrete. Her parents heard the fall and ran to her. Mfon had passed out. Her mother screamed and tried to wake her, but she wasn't responding. Her father picked her up from the floor and rushed to the car. They drove to the hospital. When they got there, Mfon woke up. Her parents quickly told the nurses what happened. The nurses admitted Mfon and started running tests. They found out that she had a severe head trauma. The doctor gave her medicine to help with the severe headache. A few hours later, the test results came back. The doctor came into the room and asked Mfon's parents to sit down. She had some questions for Mfon. "Have you been falling more often than usual? And do you have trouble holding things for a while?" Mfon said yes, but she thought it was nothing. That's why she did not complain. The doctor told them that Mfon had a rare disease with her nerves, and that affected her ability to move. The worst news was that the disease would get worse over time. Mfon would lose all her muscles and eventually unable to do anything. and there was no medicine or cure for it. Mfon's mother, Mrs. Etima, was devastated. She stood up and begged the doctor to find a way to help her daughter. Mr. Banga, Mfon's father, got angry and told the doctor that Mfon was going to become a doctor and nothing could stop her. The doctor warned them to prepare for the worst, saying that Mfon would lose more motor skills each day. The doctor turned to Mfon and told her to try to do everything she wanted in the short time she had left. The news was so devastating and upsetting that the doctor left them so that they could process the news. Mfon's mother tried to encourage her, promising to fight to ensure nothing happened to her daughter. Mr. Banga walked out of the room and his wife followed him into the hallway. Mr. Banga was upset. She has to be a doctor. She starts school tomorrow and in 6 years she will be 22 and a doctor. This must happen, he said. He had invested everything in Mfon's education to make sure she became successful. Mfon's mother was shocked at her husband's insensitivity. How can you be so focused on her becoming a doctor when our child is fighting for her life? She yelled at him. Mr. Banga responded angrily. I invested everything in her education so she could become a doctor and take care of us. When she becomes a doctor, she can give us more money. Mfon's mother was furious to learn that her husband's goal was to benefit from their daughter's success. She walked back into the hospital room to comfort their daughter Mfon. Mr. Banga went to the doctor's office and asked for Mfon to be discharged. He did not want her to miss her first day of medical school. The doctor advised against it, suggesting that Mfon needed more rest, but Mr. Banga insisted. The doctor agreed to discharge Mfon and had Mr. Banga sign the papers. Mfon's mother was very upset but could not argue with her husband. They took Mfon home. The next morning, Mr. Banga decided that Mfon would go to the university from home so he could keep an eye on her. Mfon started medical school, but every time she came home, her dad would push her to study more, do some work on the farm, help with the chores and family business. Mfon stayed up late every night doing more work, even though the doctor had recommended more rest. Mr. Banga was obsessed with her becoming a doctor at 22. So Mfon could not afford to fail any class or fall behind. The pressure was overwhelming. One evening, Mfon was so exhausted that she collapsed. Her parents found her and rushed her to the hospital. The doctor examined her and told her parents that Mfon was in a coma. When they asked the doctor how long it was going to take for Mfon to recover, the doctor had no answer. Mr. Banga's pressure had made Mfon's condition worse. The doctor told them the intense stress had sped up the disease. Mfon's mom was furious with her husband. I told you to let her rest, but you were too obsessed with her becoming a doctor. Look at what you have done, she yelled. After a few weeks in coma, Mfon woke up, but she was in a vegetative state. She could not speak, she could not move, and she could not respond to anyone. She just stared blankly at people. Mfon's parents cried so much, not knowing what to do for their daughter. On top of everything, the hospital informed them about the bills. They had 2 days to pay or leave the hospital. They could not afford the bills and had to move Mfon back home. Mfon's mom prepared a room for her, who was now permanently bedridden. This situation put a huge strain on the family. Etima, Mfon's mom, had to lift Mfon to clean her, dress her, and feed her. The parents argued non-stop and were very stressed. A few months later, Mr. Banga moved out of the house and filed for a divorce. Mfon's mother, Etima, was left alone to take care of Mfon, who was still very unresponsive. She stayed by her daughter's side all the time. For 3 years, she did everything she could to make Mfon's life as comfortable as possible. She bathed her, dressed her, fed her, read to her, sang to her, and prayed for Mfon as if her life depended on it. Her relatives helped her out. Her family provided incredible support, keeping the environment joyful with lots of laughter. One day, while Mfon's mom was reading her favorite medical book and holding her hands, Etima felt a warm and gentle squeeze. She was shocked because her daughter had not moved any part of her body by herself in 3 years. She screamed, "Mfon, if you can hear me, squeeze my hand again," she said in panic. A few seconds later, Mfon gently squeezed her mother's hand again. Etima cried out with joy and praise, hugging her daughter and calling her name while thanking God. She called some relatives who came over and spent all night with them. Even though Mfon was still very unresponsive, she moved her fingers from time to time. The next morning, Etima called the doctor to tell him about the improvement. The doctor promised to visit after his shift. So later that evening, the doctor came by to examine Mfon, and he looked very surprised. "I have never seen such a dramatic improvement after a long time in a vegetative state," said the doctor. "Etima, your daughter has a fighting chance." It was the best news Etima had heard in 3 years. Her face was filled with tears of joy. The doctor checked on Mfon every evening from that day. Mfon slowly began to improve, regaining control of her motor skills. With her family's help, she practiced holding things and she learned how to walk again. The progress was slow and took a long time, but Mfon had a very supportive mother and family. They were patient and encouraging, and they were also very gentle with her. A year after she regained consciousness, she went back to medical school. Although she struggled at first as she was still recovering and relearning basic things, she refused to quit. With her mother's gentle support, she did exceptionally well in medical school. She volunteered in many outreach programs and contributed to medical journals and conferences. In her 4th year in medical school, she received awards and monetary gifts. Mr. Banga saw his daughter's interview on the TV and was amazed to see her walking and doing so well. Because after the divorce, Mr. Banga had given up on Mfon, thinking she was dead. He had moved to a different state and started a new life. He even got married to another woman. However, he couldn't have children with his new wife. So when he saw Mfon's interview, he was shocked beyond words to see her alive and thriving. So he decided to visit his daughter. Mfon and her mother were surprised to see him. Mr. Banga said that he was the reason Mfon got all the scholarships. "I sacrificed everything to send you to the best schools," he said. "But now that you have money, you have forgotten all about me. You did not even come to look for me," he told her. He then asked her to split the award money with him. He was so rude, entitled, selfish, and greedy. Mfon was in tears. She was shocked and upset. "All you care about is money," she cried. "You pushed me to become a doctor for your pride and selfish reasons. You left me when I needed you most." Mfon was heartbroken as she said these things to her father. She stood there and wrote a check to her father as compensation for all he did before leaving. Mfon used some of the money that she got to pay off the hospital bills she had accumulated. She went on to finish medical school and became a great doctor with her mother by her side. The moral lesson of this story is that it is important to be a parent first before being a coach or a teacher to your child. Let your children know that you love them for them, not for what you want from them or what you can get out of them. Always remember that your children are not your insurance policy. As you are investing in your children to make their future bright, also invest in yourself so you won't have to depend on your children. If you were in fun, what would you do with your father? Please leave your response in the comment section. I love to read and respond to your comment. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. See you in the next video. Bye.